watching Workspace Real Estate. This is James Robertson, and today we're going to go into what I believe are the best picks on what's actually available right now in the marketplace. And I'm going to try to run through this really efficiently. So if you have more questions, just shoot me an email or give me a call. So let me go ahead and start with my criteria. First, we're going to be looking at properties $800,000 to $1.5 million. We're looking at office, flex space, industrial, retail, and we're looking in this region because my clients happen to be in the Southwest market, so I want to get something that's accessible to them so they can actually go visit. So as far as the properties we're going to visit here, it's a mix between office, industrial, and retail properties. So we're going to try to break these down really quick, and I'll talk about the pluses and minuses of each. Okay, so here is an industrial property, and this property here is great for low cost of entry. An industrial property does not cost as much to build out when you have a new tenant that moves in. Most industrial properties will have longer term leases, and they're great for owner occupied plays. So you buy one of these, and the goal is to have like a light machine shop take the spot after you purchase it and you get the cash flow. So that's generally what this is. 6,000 square feet of warehouse space, 1,000 square feet of office space, and it's been on the market for 9 months, which the average term is about a year to be on the market. So these guys would be ripe to talk to. They're represented by a reputable commercial firm. So this is something I would look at, especially if I knew I had a tenant that I can place here. A machine shop would be perfect. And the fact that it's fenced and secured also increases the value. Okay, on this one, we have a Church's Chicken. Now, these are what we call triple net properties. I like the fact that when you have a major national tenant in these buildings, they're really attractive. I call this mailbox money deals. These are real easy to go in and look at the remaining term, look at the cash flow, calculate what the cap rate's going to be, and as long as your numbers work out, you know, they're pretty relatively safe investments. These are investments that I have no problem supporting. After a Church's Chicken leaves, there's other tenants that'll typically take these spots as well. So that's another factor, that even when this lease expires, it's much easier to lease out one of these to another fast food chain that may be regional. So this property is for sale for $800,000. The cap rate is 6%, which is on par with what you see. So they're saying the net operating income is $48,000 a year. So like I said, what's great about these is we just have to check to make sure these numbers are accurate. Okay, and it also says this triple net lease provides for 0 landlord obligations and 1.5% annual increases in rent. So the tenant is also a franchise owner with 110 units. So this is something that it's a very strong, safe, or safer type of investment. It's been on the market for 2 months and 12 days. I'm not surprised, because these are the type of properties that many investors, especially starting out, just want to snatch up. And let me preface that when I say snatch up, if it's a good deal, all these numbers need to be checked out. You got to check out cash flow. You got to check out NOI. We need to go talk to the tenant to make sure that they are happy and they're growing in this area. We need to look at who the backup options would be if these guys left for any reason. So once you do all of your due diligence, and if the numbers work out, then this is something that I would jump on. Okay, so here's another type of property. This is a home that is used for commercial space. They're saying this is an office space here. This is a mixed bag to me. Homes are tough. You know, they're harder to lease out for office. I don't like the lack of parking that they have there. You know, I think if people want to buy a home, they should buy a home for a home. In some markets, like in the Montrose, really close to downtown, I understand you have to make exceptions. But from an investment perspective, if I'm trying to get a commercial tenant, I'm going to lean more toward a commercial property, so I'm going to move on from here. Okay, so here's an interesting multifamily. It's been on the market for 9 months and 8 days. The sales price is $850,000, which is pretty competitive. The multifamily market in Houston is way overbuilt right now. We have built too much Class A apartment complexes, which is putting pressure on all of the other classes, Class B and Class C. So multifamilies like this, that are certainly not Class A, they definitely have some pressure. There's going to be hair on this deal, but the advantage is going through the numbers here, looking at their financials, and seeing where we can leverage them. How low can we get the price? It says partial financing available. So that's going to be very interesting. Are they talking about owner financing? They may be motivated to sell this. So if you're experienced in multifamily, if you have a good property management team, if you know how to turn these around, if we get a good price on this, this could be a very good deal. But you have to get a good price on multifamily right now because it's just so competitive. So you'd have to buy this at such a price that you can very comfortably run this with reasonable occupancy expectations. Okay, so another type of retail property are gas stations. These are, I think, reserved for people that are very experienced in running gas stations. I know everybody wants to get their feet in. They learn about, hey, I want to buy in a strong corner. The price here definitely is great for someone that's just getting their feet wet in commercial, but they can be difficult. They have problems with tanks rupturing and environmental issues later on that may be a headache for people that are not used to it. So I say that if you have experience or want to get into it, deals like this could be good, but I try to steer clients away when they're starting out to other types of investments. With that being said, a gas station here that has a restaurant next to it is very, very popular type of triple net deal and could be very lucrative. So it's one of those niches that it does work. It just takes a decision from the investor to want to learn how to do this business properly. And for clients that are interested in deals like this, I try to connect them with some of the banker relationships that I do have, and even some of the guys we've done deals with in the past to show how we've done these successfully. But this is where experience counts quite a bit. All right, so here, we have something that's near and dear to my heart, office type properties. These can be great investments or they can be money pits depending on how you buy it. If a roof is needing to be fixed or an AC unit needs to be redone, you got issues. In an atrium style building like this that's selling for $895, there may be a high loss factor. I'm really not sure how efficient these spaces are on the inside, but it's an older type of build. It's going to be a challenge to lease this up. It's going to take a lot of shoe leather to have your brokers go through and pull tenants to this space. You're always going to be competing against a Boxer or a Hartman type property. And I'm assuming they're motivated to sell because they're probably tired of trying to fight to keep tenants in here from leaving to other buildings. So if you're experienced in this, and this happens to be a forte of ours, we do a lot of office deals. So a guy like me looking at this, I would say, look, I can take one of these, and we just push it hard and get the leasing velocity up. We fill it up, move the occupancy from maybe 50 or 60%. Let's see what this one is actually. So we can move this from 50, 60% up to 80, 85% and then flip it. That works. And see the vacancy rate's right where I thought. So it's a little bit less than half full. Now, it does take work to get that up there, but when you do, you can be rewarded for it. Very much so, financially. I've seen buildings like this that may be at $800,000 that they're trying to sell it for now. You get this bad boy filled up, you can turn this around at $1.5, $2 million easy, or more, depending on what the cash flow numbers are going to be. This is an interesting property. It looks great. Somebody may be thinking, oh, that's a nice looking property I want to purchase. But it's overbuilt. This is a salon. And, $900,000, that's not bad. It's not bad. But if you have a salon or access to a salon owner, this would be great for them. I would definitely think that. But the challenge is going to be, I would want to have my tenant ready to go before I looked at this property. I'd want to know I can get somebody in there, because you might be waiting a while to find a salon owner with the credit and the cash to or ability to get financing to pay for a building like this. And that's the downside. It's kind of overbuilt, but it does look very nice. Okay, so here's another great example of a retail option. Now, when you look at this, most people would see something like this and think, okay, that's great. This looks great curb appeal, and it's attractive, but you need to be an expert in your niche, and you need to have a substantial amount of cash to build out one of these spaces here. Could cost you as a landlord easily $80,000 to $150,000 for each one. If this is first generation space, which means there's just cement in the back and maybe some utility studs back here, most tenants can't afford to put that there, to build it out, so you have to do it. And the question you're going to have to ask is, can I afford the purchase price? and the build out allowance for tenants, and also can I pull credit-worthy tenants around this market that I can trust and can do a 5 year or 7 year lease. And if the answer to that is yes, that you have the cash and you think you can pull the tenants, this investment could be great. But in most cases, the reason these guys are probably trying to sell is they have a hard time, finding the tenants that have the credit worthiness to take a space like this and be worth the risk of spending $150,000 to build out a space when a tenant can go out of business. So it's one of those things where you have to be an expert in your niche, and you have to have access to tenants. For clients that we do deals like this, we fill these up with tenants that we are able to find, but we evaluate the deal carefully first to make sure we can pull from that area. So here's another triple net opportunity. A Church's Chicken here. So this has been on the market for 2 months. It looks like the same one. It may be listed twice, but it's the same story that I said before. Everything that applies to the other one applies to this one. Here's another type of investment I like to point clients to. An industrial building that's near a major freeway here. It's on a nice piece of land. It's got plenty of room for parking, a small lot that somebody might need. What I like about these, now the conditions doesn't look excellent here. The roof looks like it needs some work, but these metal buildings are very cheap to maintain. When a tenant needs to take a space, they usually want a long-term lease. They don't require a lot of money to keep up with them, and you can do a triple net deal where they're paying for the common area maintenance, taxes, and insurance as a straight pass-through, and they're just basically using the storage space here. It's a great, easy way to get a long-term tenant. And a lot of these industrial guys, from my experience, have been pretty stable too. So I like the low cost of entry. I like the long-term tenants, and the demand is not too bad. It's 995,000. It's been on the market for a year, so they should be willing to talk. It's represented by a reputable brokerage firm. And these guys, they're straight up. I've talked to Travis before, and I think they're straight up guys. So we could very easily, negotiate what we think is competitive after we figure out what type of tenants we think we can get here. Now my approach is a little bit riskier for this deal than the Church's Chicken I just mentioned before, but I'm confident that if the property's in good condition and if there's no serious issues with the roof, if the AC is in good shape, the inside is okay, we can get a tenant here, and you want to buy this at a price that we can get a really competitive rental rate and pull from the surrounding area. You lock in a 5 or 7 year deal, you're in business. So that's why I like these. It does take a little bit more work, but they're fun, and it's very doable because the industrial market in Houston is still very stable. Here's a great example of a triple net opportunity that's not it's not as attractive as like a Church's Chicken. You see here, Edo grocery store. So this is more of a cultural type store. I'm not familiar with this brand. I don't know if it's national or regional or not, but I can tell you that when you look at deals like this and it's at $1 million, I got to see a national credit tenant. I want to see some guaranteed cash flow on a deal like this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this once these guys move out. It doesn't have a lot of great curb appeal. It's one of those deals where if these guys have a 20-year lease or something, that's one thing. But if they don't, I'm really nervous about what's going to happen when these guys leave. I'm also nervous about how are they doing. You'd have to really take a deep look in their financials. So for me, this would be a pass. Now, here's an opportunity that you have a national tenant here at Subway, and it's very typical in retail centers like this. Older construction, not very attractive curb appeal, but you have a good national credit tenant there, and then you have a few local shops. Okay, now nail salon, FedEx. So that's not bad. The tenant mix here is not bad. This is a great property to kind of revamp and put a new facade on the front. It looks okay now. It'll do the job, obviously, because you got some great tenants here. This shows me that the location is strong as well. The fact that a FedEx is here and a Subway as well, and a fine tailoring. This is a great tenant mix. None of these tenants are gonna detract from this location. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, worst case scenario, what happens if the Subway leaves? What do I do? And you should be able to very easily get another tenant that wants to take over for the subway. I wouldn't have a problem filling that spot. Fine tailoring, that's also a great sign to me as well. Dog grooming. This is actually a very nice little enclave for upscale type of customers to come here. And so I feel like this would be a great place at some point to redo depending on the price. And let's take a closer look at this. Yeah, I'm getting more excited. So it's on the Heights, I-45 and 610. That's great. You know, sitting near downtown. So from what I can see here, these type of properties, this is a go. These are things that we want to talk to. It says the NOI is 50,000, so it does have some cash flow. That's a little low, you know. But we need to work through the numbers and we need to check these numbers. But the location is great. Location is great. You could tell by the tenant mix here that the customer base, the rooftops here are well-to-do. So I feel as though you could sit on this for a while, and if you really want to pump up the cash flow, go ahead and make the investment and revamp the facade here, and you can increase rates. Maybe you get rid of the nail salon and put another nationally credit tenant there. Maybe a Starbucks would be lucky enough to get a corner, you know, if this has enough parking. Parking may be a challenge here though, but otherwise this is something that I put an asterisk next to take a deeper look at. And it's been on the market for 21 days, and I'm not surprised because I don't expect it to be on the market that long. I really do see people moving on this quickly. Here's an example of a gas station that I would certainly pay attention to. So sales price is $1.1 million here. So it's a 27,000 square foot lot with a 2,900 square foot building. These are nicer. You have the ability to get tenants here as well as have the traffic drawn by the gas station. So those are great setups here. I like these triple net properties. These are nice ones to look into. We just need to make sure that the numbers work. Okay, so last one, but not least, Title Max here. This is a retail that I'm only paying attention to because of the tenant. Title Max is going to be one of those when you're in the hood and you're in places that you know are going to be kind of sketchy as far as credit and businesses going in and out. Title Maxes are pretty stable. And it's kind of like buying a Church's Chicken or a Popeyes or a McDonald's or Burger King. You know, they may be in a area in decline, but they're going to be very, very, very stable. So it all depends on the length or term left here. The cap rate is nice and competitive at 7.6. You know, the NOI at 86,000. You know, this is something I would take a look at. You know, how much longer does the lease how much longer do they have on their lease? Are they likely to renew? Who am I going to backfill this space with if they leave? But this is another one that I would take a really good look at. So I know this went long. I'm sorry about that. I tried to go through this as quickly as possible. But this is great information. So if you have questions about any of these properties, call me so we can go through it. I've also have the actual report. And if you didn't get this in email, I'll just go ahead and send it to you. Just message me and you'll get that. Thank you so much for watching.